Great. And here we are about to start a whole new quarter, a whole new month. And we've got another 30 days to more or less stay at home or remain in place. And it could be interesting because I think it's interesting to see what it's going to do for us. We're not going to be inhibited by our redemption, so don't worry about that. Doesn't mean you can't go to the bank or go to the redemption center. Of course, they're allowing for that, so don't worry about that at all. And I've got some clarifications to make on a few things that I've heard of that are out there on the blogs, and I want to clarify a couple of things. Let's just do that right now so I don't forget it. There has been some information put out about the idea of a 3 days of darkness. I want to talk about that right now. Now, that is a true thing. However, and if you've read Judy or you've listened to David Wilcock, you're aware of this. However, as much as I listen to David and like him, and as much as I have heard really good things read from Judy overall, I'm going to say they're missing one little point about the 3 days of darkness. There has been some discussion about internet going down, cell service going down, etc. I want you to know that for 3 days. Today in President Trump's speech about the COVID-19 virus, I heard the entire speech and all the questions. And the one thing that was said that I really glommed onto was the fact that he mentioned a number of telecoms, cell phone companies, internet providers, anybody that listened to the speech. He, I think, listed about 7 of those different companies: Verizon, AT&T, Sprint, et cetera, et cetera. He listed a bunch of them, and internet providers as well. And what he said was, yes, they're under a lot of stress right now with a lot more usage from home as people are staying home. All of that's true. And he said, however, all of this usage that's going now and will continue to increase will not be interrupted. In other words, they have the ability to maintain that. And my understanding was President Trump had a discussion with all of these companies today on a call where he, let's put it this way, he was very adamant about that staying on without interruption all the way through, no problem, or there might be consequences for those providers. It might not be a happy time for them if they try to do anything or pull anything or not provide the service that they're currently providing. So I took that to mean that's very positive for us. I did also find out that if there are interruptions at all over that 3 days of darkness, it's not for us. It could be for a few other people, if you can understand my drift. It does not affect us, but it could affect some other people. Okay? And if you can't figure that out, then don't worry about it. Okay? Now, let's keep going with what else is important for us. There's a lot of things that have happened. You know, we had NESARA officially start a week ago yesterday, which would have been Monday a week ago. Now, yesterday morning at 9 o'clock, Secretary Mnuchin signed off on a mortgage debt relief program. Yesterday, we had 188,000 mortgages forgiven, plus another 450,000 in the evening or afternoon evening, and that's ongoing. So that would have been what? 638,000 mortgages forgiven yesterday and more today, and so on and so on. They want the debt forgiveness. This is part of Nasara. Guys, this is part of the debt jubilee, the debt forgiveness that we've talked about on the big call. Many of you know about it. Some of you are new to that concept. But the good news is that the mortgage forgiveness program is happening, and we expect it to be complete by the end of April. The end of April. So in a month's time or so, that should be complete nationwide. Don't know where these are occurring. Don't know who they are. I just know that they've started. Okay? And they'll be going on, I think, every day all the way through. Now, the other thing that's happened is we've all heard about the stimulus checks that are going to be coming out. First of all, let me say that the U.S. Treasury is in the process of absorbing the IRS and the Federal Reserve. We talked about this, I believe, on Thursday's call. If we didn't, we'll mention it now, that the Federal Reserve position is inside the Treasury with obviously fewer employees involved, and Stephen Mnuchin is over that aspect of it in the Treasury, and then, of course, the President is over the Treasury. That's all under the new restored republic. Now, the IRS is actually involved. The checks are being cut. This is our stimulus checks are being cut by the U.S. Treasury and sent out by the IRS. Okay, so that's a joint effort on those. And guess what? We had 100 and, yes, that's right. This is where we had, okay, I'm going to have to correct some numbers. So Judy or whoever else is out there and whoever is transcribing, try to catch these corrected numbers. The total number of checks that have gone out so far were 638,000, with more going out all the time. That was the number of stimulus checks that have already been issued starting yesterday. Now, the direct deposits should occur, from what I'm hearing, either tomorrow or Thursday, starting tomorrow or Thursday for direct deposits. Now, the mortgage forgiveness, which I ask forgiveness on messing this number up, the mortgage forgiveness was more like 23,000 mortgages forgiven so far in 2 days. Okay, because it started yesterday, and that includes today by 10 o'clock this morning. So we've got mortgage debt forgiveness. You're going to have student loan forgiveness. You're going to have a lot of things that will be very positive. Over 100 different types of loans will be forgiven, and the interest paid on those loans will be refundable to you. So that's going to be interesting to see all that come to us. I told you guys a long time ago, I guess it's been 2, maybe 3 weeks, that these checks that we're getting of $1,200 if you earn $75,000 or under $75,000 or less, those checks will come out, and they're coming out already. And if you're married and both working and both earning less than $150,000, you're entitled to 12 and 12, $2,400, and then I think up to, I don't know how many kids they're allowing for, 2 or 3, maybe more. I don't know what the total is, $500 a child. So do the math and add that up. That's what you should be receiving. And I believe that is not going to be just for 2 months. If it is, I'm wrong. But I believe that is the precursor to the universal basic income. that should be a monthly income of some amount that will be adjusted after the first 2 months, I'm sure, as they refine their database and make sure that only U.S. citizens are eligible for that program on the checks. And, of course, they're being very careful to make sure that only U.S. citizens get these checks, and they'll be watching very closely. Another thing that they'll be watching, as this comes to my mind, when we go into the Redemption Center, we're going to have a 90-day non-disclosure agreement. 90 days, 3 months. But after those 3 months, you will be tracked by NSA for another 3 months. You're going to be tracked on your phone, your social media, if you're foolish enough to be on it. You'll be tracked on anything that they can listen to that you're on, emails, social media, phone calls. They're going to track that. NSA is tracking that. So that if you say anything or you do anything that's not right, they'll probably come after you. I want you to be aware. I want you guys to be thinking, even though you're under an NDA for 3 months, in your mind, in my mind, think of it as 6 months. Just figure you're going to stay quiet. You're not going to disclose any of these things, any of the particulars. Read the NDA, understand it, make sure you understand it clearly, and do not violate it or you could be in trouble. They don't want these things mentioned or out, so be sure that you keep quiet for at least 6 months. And the tracking by NSA won't probably be an issue for you. One other thing about going in to the Redemption Center, you might see people around wearing masks. We're not to go in with that necessarily, but if you go to the door of the Redemption Center, President Trump today mentioned you could use a scarf to wear to help block your being contagious or getting someone else, spreading something to someone else. I don't know how effective it's going to be for you getting something from someone else, but it should help protect other people from getting something from you. Now, you can wear the scarf, you know, like a bandana would be, as if you were a bad guy. You can wear that or use a mask, but just take it off when you get to the door and let them know when you call that you might be wearing that, and then take that off when you get in there and see what the deal is, okay? But it's just a suggestion that the President was making that I think might work for us. Also, you may want to wear some form of camouflage in terms of sunglasses, something over the bridge of your nose, some kind of a thing where you cannot be facially recognized with facial recognition software, primarily when you would come out of the Redemption Center. Be thinking about that. Be thinking about the possibility, maybe throwing on some kind of a mask or something over the bridge of the nose is a very important area of your face that can give information for the facial recognition software to pick up, in case it were to be used by the bad guys. I'm just saying. Also, be considering the type of security that you're going to want. You're going to want to get security, and whether it's a driver, whether it's bodyguard and driver, whatever, you're going to look into that. You're going to do that. I'm sure they're going to mention that to you at the Redemption Center. You guys should already be considering it. Especially if you are married or have children or grandchildren, etc. And I think you know where I'm going with that. So be very, very diligent about looking into your own security as we move forward. The latest I've heard about where we are in this process is that the intermediates, I was told, would be paid starting at 6 p.m. tonight, Eastern Daylight Time. I can't confirm if that has happened yet, but we know that they had paid out select Tier 3s a couple of days ago, and some of those were not able to keep the funds, if you know what I mean. But the bulk of the Tier 3s and the Tier 3s were to have been paid yesterday and today. So that's great. Good for them. Now, where do we stand? They're considering Tier 4, whether it's the groups that we know about or whether it's us as 4B in the Internet group. They've lumped up 4A and 4B together, and we should be notified at the same time. And all I can tell you is we are supposed to be in a crescendo in the next 48 hours, and that started at 10 o'clock this morning. The next 48 hours should prove to be a crescendo for us. So we take that. We know what 2 days are from this morning, and we take that and we look at that and we say, okay, all right, maybe that's something for us tomorrow, maybe something for Thursday. And I believe either one we will take at this point. So I'm trying to think if there's anything else I wanted to bring you. Yeah, I did hear some rates yesterday, and they were higher than what we had anticipated on dinar, and dong should be running right alongside. Maybe not the same as, but not too far from the dinar. As far as the ZIM is concerned, you know we don't really talk much about rates. We mentioned a default rate before. I think when you give your presentation in a beautiful way, you will probably have that rate being attenuated from that default position upward based on how well you're doing on your presentation. And yes, there is an opportunity. If you are not happy, I highly recommend everybody take the rate that is offered to them, and they don't want us to come back and renegotiate or negotiate that rate. So I'm just going to say, let's see what they offer you, and if you do feel that that should be higher than it was for some reason, you're going to be able to make your case at that second appointment. It will not be at the redemption center. It would be at that Tier 1 bank, which has your motherlode account. It's either going to be Wells or maybe one of the other Tier 1 banks, okay? But that's how it's set up. You can go back if you want. I think I'm going to be pleased with the rate that I'm offered, so I don't really anticipate that. And then the whole thing about contract rates on the other currencies, the contract rates on dinar and dong only apply if you are not a ZIM holder. If you have no ZIM, but all you have is dinar or all you had is dong, based on your projects, you could ask for the contract rate. Okay? But they will see you as greedy if you try to negotiate a contract rate on your currencies if you already have been negotiated on your ZIM, regardless of what the rate is. Because as you guys know, the ZIM has incredible intrinsic value. All right? So be happy with the front screen rates or whatever rate. They could offer you more than the screen rate. They could. So just see what they offer you. You'll be sitting across from two people that will be deciding that for you as your currency is counted and verified. Okay? One other thing. They will check your temperature when you get there, and they will check it when you leave, and they will give you a swab to self-swab your own nasal passage, okay? And then you'll put that in a vial, and they will be able to tell you with this new Abbott Laboratories test whether you're going to be positive, which should show one color, or negative, meaning positive. Well, let me start that over. The negative means you don't have the virus, the coronavirus, and that should take about 5 minutes to determine that you don't have it, but to determine that you do have it will turn a different color, and that could take 15 minutes. So somewhere along the line, you'll be let know, hey, how did you do on the COVID-19 test? Okay, so be aware of that. And if you start sneezing or coughing, or you look like you might have these symptoms, they may be donning a mask themselves, and they may give you a mask to put on as well. And they will give you, regardless of how fit you are, whether you have anything other than currency, they will give you silicone gloves to use to take your currency out of the envelopes and give them to the redeeming person that also is using the silicone gloves and put your currency into the de la Rue machine for counting and verification. So expect those gloves, and do expect the temperature check and the swab test in your nose. In your nose. Okay? But you're supposed to be the one to administer that. You can do it. Not them. You will do it. All right? So that's a little bit of information about the redemption protocol. I'm going to go very quickly through how I see this working for us in 20 to 25 minutes. Now, I was told yesterday, let's say you have a bale of currency. You just got so much, we can barely get it in the door. If you have a lot of currency, yes, they will extend your appointment time, because guess what? It's going to take them a while to count it all, even with a fast de la Rue machine. So, yes, you will have a little more time if you have more currency, and it takes them longer to count it, okay? Because it will. It'll take longer the more you have. So you're going to first go in, do the nasal thing and all that, know your customer, and then that's a fairly short period, I think, of 2 or 3 minutes to do that. And then you're going to go and watch that 4-minute video, 4 minutes. If you're a regular listener to the big call for a while, probably won't be anything new for you, but still watch it anyway in case you pick something up. Now, while you're watching that 4-minute video, they are running you with your social and your stuff, and they're checking you out while you're watching that video to see who you are, what you're made of, all of that good stuff, okay? They're checking you out, okay, online, checking you out. Now, after you watch the video, guess what? It's time for your presentation show. And you're going to be working in 5 to 8 minutes tops, telling them about your projects. And then if you have any business plan material, your one sheet that Sue does, you hand that over to them either during or at the end of your presentation so that they can have that. Then we go from that point to the counting and verification of the currency, okay, with the de la Rue machine and 2 individuals, all righty? And then you're going to go from there to the setting up of your 1 or 2 accounts, okay, and getting those set up. Then you're going to be talking about your credit debit card, getting that punched out for you there on the premises, and then you'll be talking about doing maybe a wire or 2 maybe that day, maybe 1 or 2 ledger to ledgers, as they call them now, or bank wires, as we used to call them. And then they're going to be able to provide maybe up to 3 proof of funds letters, so you can be talking about your real estate purchases or whatever else you need to buy. Okay, so you'll talk and get those proof of funds letters put out to you. They'll be talking about a perk sheet and handing you one or two sets of those, depending on which bank or banks you're looking at. And you'll probably get the business cards and set up tentative appointments for coming back or meeting with your wealth management side of Wells Fargo. Could be Abbott Downing, could be wealth management, could be the private banking if you choose another bank. They have different names for basically the same thing. And then you're going to do all that, and then there might be some cash you could pick up if you want it. You'd be getting that up to $14,000, although with a credit card or debit card with $1 million on it, you don't probably need too much cash. So just keep that in mind. And then you're out the door. Check your temperature again, and you're out the door. Boom. And now you have to be thinking very seriously about your security and so on. And I'm going to say this for you guys. You know, we're supposed to be at basically a sequester in place, stay at home type program for the next 30 days. And hopefully that'll be it by the end of April. But let's look at it this way. You want to celebrate, but you're going to need to celebrate very quietly and not in a crowd of people. You're not going to go to the bar, which isn't open anyway. You're not going to go to some restaurant and buy everybody rounds. I mean, guys, it's a different way. We didn't think it was going to be like this a couple of months ago. We had no idea our celebration was going to be so quiet. But it is. And for right now. And you may have some limited travel in the U.S. and abroad, but maybe those restrictions might be lifted. They haven't been yet, really. If anything, I think it's going to get a little tighter before it gets loosed. So be prepared for a quiet celebration. But that's okay. You can still buy stuff online if you want. You can even buy a new car online, and the car dealership will deliver it to you. I mean, all that's doable. So it's going to be a little bit restrictive, but not too badly, I think. It won't be too bad, and hopefully it won't last more than another month or two. So we'll just hang in there. We've had the faith to believe and stay with it this long, and we can make it another month or two. Do the smart things regarding your own health and the health of your family and friends. Keep a safe social distance, 6 feet. That is the single best way to keep from getting the virus or from spreading the virus. Social distancing is the key to letting this thing die a natural death as the temperature rises. I think more and more of the flu will, or the COVID-19 will die with the heat. So hope for a lot of heat where you are, a little early in the spring, but still hope for some heat, and maybe that virus will not be as bad as it was anticipated. All right, you guys, I hope you got the corrections that were made. It's something that comes from very good sources, and I think you guys can appreciate that and how I put it out regarding the 3 days of darkness and what that's all about. Now, Bob, when you are ready.